Hi ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor and pleasure for me to see you back in this video, and I hope that you are all comfortable in your different activities and business. Today I wanted to talk about language method, and before that I just wanted to recommend you my previous video, because there I developed and I mentioned three elements which are very capital for you in order to understand today's video. In this particular video, I developed some kind of key approach and also some key elements such as a method, a technique, and also an approach. And I do recommend you to have a glance at it before you really come and watch that particular and interesting video. And if you're really watching me for the first time, let me introduce myself. My name is Bamogo Teoneleona. I'm an English teacher and also an international student currently living and studying in Japan for the teacher training program. And let us now dive into this video. And today I want you, for example, to talk about 4 important methods which has been used in the teaching domain. And I will first of all start with the audiolingual method. And what does the audiolingual method means? And just remind you that with the entrance and the involvement of the United States in the Second World War, it has brought a new dawn in the teaching field. And for that, it brought with it the particular method called the audiolingual method. And what does it simply mean? The audiolingual method means it's really a method which requires a lot of memorization of series of dialogue. There is also a rote practice of the language structures. It simply means that for language proficiency to be developed, you need a lot of practice, you need a lot of repetition. And for that, in the different language institute and the different university, we have the use of audio step. We have also a lot of drill which has been really advised in the teaching and the learning process. And with that particular method, the L1, that is the native language from the student, is completely forbidden. There is no use of the L1, and for that, teacher is just using, for example, the target language in the teaching process. And I just wanted also to tell you that this method became very popular in the 1960s, and it gained a lot of interest from many instructors all around the world. But unfortunately, it has also received a lot of criticism for not creating a true environment for communication to take place. And for that, people were looking forward to having new approaches in the teaching field. And that's why it can definitely lead us to the second method, which is suggestopedia. And suggestopedia is developed by a Bulgarian psychiatrist. And this particular person thinks that in the teaching domain, it's really important for you to develop a particular environment and in the learning process. And this environment is being sure that students are free from stress, students are free from fatigue, and the fact of relaxing as much as possible in the learning process can really help you develop language proficiency. And in this particular method, well, it's a little bit with the native language is not really forbidden. Then teacher can from time to time resort to student native language in order to help them understand clearly the language that they are now, the new language that they are developing and acquiring. And that can definitely really lead us to the third method that I wanted to talk about, which is now the silent way. And this method is also developed by another psychologist, and he really, in this particular method, as it's mentioned, the teacher has to be as much as possible silent in the classroom. And it is also acknowledged that learners are the one who are responsible, and they should initiate their own communication. And for that, it's really important that this particular learner be involved in the learning process, creating their own initiative and of learning. And that's why the teacher has to be as much as possible quiet in the classroom. I just wanted also to tell you that a lot of methods have been criticized for the teacher being talkative, talking too much in the classroom. It's even said that some statistics even show that teachers really speak more than 55 or 75% in the classroom. And this method just comes into really increasing the student talking time. And that's why it's really important to give some kind of time for students to use their output. And this method come into resolving that particular problem from the part of teachers who are just really talking too much and do not automatically give opportunity for learners to express themselves. And let us now end up with our last method, which is the total physical response. And total physical response, as its name, there is physical behavior from the part of the student. And there is also an important hypothesis declaring that it's really important for people to learn when they are involved in terms of physical and mental behavior. And for that, with this particular method, students are really required to execute some kind of instruction and command from the part of the teacher by just acting in behaving physically. And there is no verbal use of the language here. The teacher just perform in terms of behavior the different instruction and command of the teacher. And the teacher can just simply use some kind of picture, realia, in order to show them to the student, and the student have just for them to execute it in terms of behavior. Let us really suppose that the teacher wants the student, for example, to stand up. He just perform or show a particular picture of student standing up or something like that, and they execute it. And or simply by just asking student to clean the board by just using some kind of realia or picture in order to help them execute the different attitude and comment he is expecting them to do. And if you really think that you are using a particular method in your classroom, please share it in the comment below, and maybe other people can really get them as really powerful and interesting insight for them to develop learning and teaching strategies in the classroom. If you really think, first of all, that maybe being as quiet as possible in offering students a lot of talking time is important for them to produce the language, I think the silent way can be the one that you can use efficiently in your classroom. And if you really think that the repetition, drills, and memorization is one of the techniques that we can really implement in your classroom for learning to take place, I also think maybe that the audiolingual way can be the appropriate and suitable approach for you to implement in your classroom. Or if you really think that now in life it's really important to create that kind of environment where there is no stress, where there is relaxation, where there is no fatigue, well, let me tell you that for sure Topedia is the wonderful method for you to adapt in the classroom. And we can also really end up with the final method we discovered today, which is also the total physical response. If you think that executing behavior is really important for students in the learning process, then you can definitely resort to total physical response. I really thank you for your time, for really having a glance at this particular video. And if you really think that it was useful, please share it. Just give some like, some thumb up, and just for example, we will really discover together interesting and important insight and method in the teaching domain. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Ciao.